How's it going, everybody? I'm Jeff Slakey, and I am here with State Senator Drew MacEwen. How you doing, buddy?
Wonderful, Jeff.
It's
yourself?
Good to see you.
You too.
And we're in your offices here in Olympia, and I've kind of just been making the rounds, talking with folks here, and I met with your former House counterpart, Dan, earlier in the summer, and now here on the Senate side. Talk to me a little bit about the difference. I'm just so fascinated about the shift that you made over here, filling the seat long held by Tim Sheldon, and another great advocate for the 35th.
Yeah, it's been a fun transition. The Senate is smaller, so you have fewer people, and obviously, and it gives you while the two are equal, the Senate and the House. It's a different environment because you have more sway because of there being fewer people, and there's a little more autonomy within the Senate, and it's enjoyable. It's nice, and you have the ability to work on some issues a little deeper than you might otherwise in the House. So I've really enjoyed the transition, and Senator Tim Sheldon did a great job representing our district and has been a great mentor to me through the years, and really appreciate his helping with the transition.
Sometimes in the House, and this is too on a federal level, you can kind of get into your silos there, but it seems that there's a little more opportunity to work across the aisle in the Senate, the deliberative body or whatever. Do you find that here in Olympia?
Yeah, certainly, and a lot of them that are in the Senate, I served with in the House at one time or another, so I already had a relationship with a fair number of them. There are some newer faces to me as well, but yes, again, being that smaller body, you do have a little bit of a closer-knit community, so to speak, so that opportunity to work in both directions is certainly there if you seize that opportunity, and I try to do as much as I can.
The 35th is so expansive, from Bremerton all the way through Mason County and into Thurston County. The 35th, one of 49 districts here in our state. What are some of the things as we get ready for session that you're trying to compel your co-workers here at the House and in the Senate that the 35th is important, and it's important for the whole state?
It is. We got two large entities that encompass the 35th, and that is you have a lot of state government workers, and we've also got a lot of shipyard workers in one form or another. And then you put in our agricultural products, whether it's shellfish or timber, et cetera. There's a lot of different interests, but it's also very rural, as you know. And the 35th does play a vital role to this state, in both in our exports and in supporting our state government and our military infrastructure. So it's always advocating for our infrastructure spending, because the transportation system is vital. Again, being a very rural area, we see a lot of policies that are more urban driven that don't necessarily work in a rural area, and so having that voice consistently is important to understand for the legislature the needs that are different for the 35th, so that we can fulfill our part in being stewards of the state. And that's a very important aspect. And we're looking at the issues with the Climate Commitment Act and the impact that's had on fuel prices. These are real issues that are affecting the residents in our district that we need to address in a much more fruitful manner than has been.
I saw DOT made the first purchase or some sort of a land deal there up in the Belfair area for whatever we're calling it these days, the Belfair bypass, the freight corridor. That's exciting.
It is, and I still remember when I first came out here in the early 90s via the Navy, and lived in Kitsap County at the time, but would often come down to Mason to recreate, and the Belfair bypass being talked about then.
Oh, yeah.
And here we are, it's 2023, and now finally maybe we're moving there. Yeah, in the governor's transportation proposal, he had proposed punting it out into the 2030s, and myself, Dan, and Travis, we worked hard to make sure that we got it back on track, and we did. And the job now is to keep it in that spot. And so it is good to see that DOT is on board with us and moving forward. And if things go according to plan, and then within the next 5 years, we should have that completed. And whether you want to call it the bypass or the freight corridor, I look forward to that being open. But until that land is purchased and we're moving dirt, I'll wait until the cement's laid to celebrate.
Sure. Travis sure has been a bulldog, taking your former spot in the House.
He has. He's jumped right in, and he's done a good job. And he's not afraid to dive into the issues, and it's good to see. He's working hard.
So what are we going to look forward to from you here in this upcoming session? What are some bills that you've either been talking with your colleagues about, come to you from constituents, or ready to move forward on?
Sure, yeah, short session, so it makes things, everything's compressed. It's a 60-day session. It doesn't feel like it's 60 days when you're in it. It feels like an eternity because of that compression. Everything's moving a lot faster. But really a lot of focus on the issues surrounding the Climate Commitment Act, and we need to create more transparency. I mean, families are suffering in this state right now, and across the nation, frankly, between inflation and fuel prices. And we've really got to have an ear towards solving some of these problems. And the lack of transparency in what has been, I think, a messy rollout of the Climate Commitment Act and the impact it's had on fuel prices really needs to be addressed. And if we're gonna help communities decarbonize and have different styles of transportation, we really need to move forward quicker on that. And at the same time, we can't be punishing people for utilizing the transportation systems that they have for their lifetime. So I think we can do both in tangent. So I'm going to be working on a number of issues in that area, and then to get more accountability around the program overall. Those will be my main focuses in this short session coming up. Any
opportunities for additional changes in the law enforcement arena, or because of the session you're kind of just choosing that one to focus on?
I'm all for getting us back to rule of law. And that's going to take bipartisan effort. And so I was a co-sponsor with Senator Lovick on reforming our pursuit bill. Glad that we got that through. I don't think it went far enough, but we got some progress made on it. And so I'm certainly open to and willing to help in any way we can to give law enforcement the tools we need. I mean, property crimes are just through the roof in this state, and especially in our district.
Those retail theft is just out of control too.
Yeah, when you see major retailers pulling out of metro areas, not just in our state, but in other states, I mean, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And we've got to give the tools to law enforcement to be able to do their job. We can't pass laws and say things are illegal and then do nothing about it. It sends the wrong message.
Right.
And education is always going to be an important issue. We're starting to see some of the gap that got created through COVID.
Yeah.
Which COVID's nobody's fault in this country, but it happened, and we've got to make sure that we're getting our students back on track, or we're going to lose a generation of knowledge, and we can't afford to have that happen.
I saw just outside as we were pulling in a group of welders out there working.
Yes.
And again, it's great to see the trades going, and perhaps another push again that the trades are an important part and key to our economy here.
Absolutely, and it's critical to our national security.
Yeah.
If you can't build and repair your own things, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I remember a few years ago, I was on a delegation trip to Denmark and Sweden, and it was at a power plant in Sweden, and I was talking to the plant manager, and most of their tradespeople came from the old Eastern Bloc. And he said, this is a problem for us in Sweden.
Wow.
We don't have the people to fix this. And I look at that in this country, we kind of set aside career and technical education for a long time.
Yeah.
We need to bring that back. It's a path for many school-age kids to be able to pursue.
Sure.
Provides a wonderful career opportunity, and to be able to provide for your family and pay taxes. And, that those are critical skills that we need to have, and we need to continue to promote that.
One final thing here. It's not session time, but you're here. What happens in Olympia outside of the session? There's a hustle and bustle out here.
Yeah, we've got committee hearings today, and a lot of it's just prepping for the session. So today and tomorrow we have a number of committees that are meeting, and so it's kind of a one-off that happens in the interim that will come in during the fall to do some of that prep work. And there's study sessions. We're not hearing bills, but it prompts the pump to get potential bills going. So that is what's going on today. So yeah, it's an unusual moment in the interim that we're all here.
Yeah,
or most of us are here for that matter. But yeah,
it's great. It's great. 35th State Senator Drew MacEwen here in his offices in Olympia. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Good
Glad
to see you.
You too.